There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You've made it through another week. Your reward is a little bit of Dave and a little bit of Tim and a whole lot of Beyond the Darkness, the best in paranormal talk radio. It's a Supernatural News Parashare Saturday. We've got your stories and we've got supernatural news from around the world. But before we do that, Tim, it's the weekend. The weekend is here. People are thinking, what can we do? Should we go see a movie? I went and I saw Overlord earlier this week. Mm-hmm. Now, are you familiar with this movie?
I am, yes. Yep.
All right, so Overlord, the idea is it's the eve of D-Day, and a special ops team has been sent in to carry out a mission. And when they're dropped in to do what they have to do, I'm trying not to give anything away, they end up encountering a very strange scientific experiment gone awry. The Nazis are at it again, Tim, those blasted Nazis.
Of course.
And this movie, if you are a gamer, is going to be heaven for you. This is like Call of Duty meets Resident Evil, and pull them together into one cacophony of strangeness. And the only problem I had with the movie is it took a while to develop. The first hour and 10 minutes, straight up war movie. The special effects are beautiful. Acting is good. I even like the actors that are in it. And you've got this kind of strange dynamic of who's who, and they're kind of scratching out their way to, show their personalities in this. And then once they get to their mission point, all hell breaks loose. Strange things start to happen. It's kind of the supernatural tour de force. I like the movie overall. I would say on a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this a solid 3.5 stars. It's not a knockdown great movie. It's very predictable in some ways, but it was entertaining. And if you love video games, this movie is going to fill every need you possibly have because it's straight up video game fun. So I would say, again, 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is one that if you want to see it on the big screen, it is beautifully shot, beautifully done. But you could wait for Netflix or Redbox on this, or treat yourself to a matinee price. I don't know that I'd go out full bore on paying for big bucks on a weekend night or a full price ticket. But for a matinee, definitely worth a little viewing. So that's my take on Overlord, which just opened up this past Thursday and is available nationwide. All right, Tim, where are we going to begin this week's Supernatural News?
We're going out to Long Island, Dave. Long Island, where a psychic and ghost hunters help a Long Island man, I don't know why I put it that way, find dad's remains in a 57-year-old mystery. Bones have been found in a Long Island basement. I don't know why I have to say it that way now. And were discovered after a family consulted with a psychic and paranormal investigators, this according to reports. 57-year-old Mike Carroll is convinced the bones belong to his father, a Korean War vet who mysteriously disappeared nearly 60 years ago. George Carroll was living in Lake Grove when he vanished in 1961, leaving behind a wife and 4 children, ranging in age from 8 months to 9 years old. The children never received a straight answer from their mother, Dorothy Carroll, on what happened to her father. Dorothy died in 1998. The bones were discovered Halloween Eve, Tuesday, in a spot in the basement that had been flagged by a psychic. They were twisted in a knot, weird looking, Carroll told the paper. It was down and twisted in the dirt, not totally exposed either. Paranormal investigators visited the home in June, and a sister of Carroll's arranged the visit. The ghost hunters told Carroll they detected an energy in the house when they returned this week to share their findings. Suffolk police will use dental records, if available, and DNA testing to positively identify the bones. Carroll was told his father went out and never came back. He told WABC TV that it had been a rumor in the family for years that his father may be buried in the basement.
That's kind of chilling and eerie. So what did Mom know? Now, she's been gone since, what, 1998?
1998. 20 years.
Yeah, no, your father left. He just left us. And she buried him in the basement, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
But that's weird. Pretty cool, though, that a ghost paranormal team and a medium got that information, and they were able to actually find the body.
Yeah, very much so. It's bizarre, nonetheless. That's for sure.
All right, where are we going next?
Well, we go overseas, where Katie Price invites Ghostbusters into a filthy Sussex mansion. That's how she describes it, to film a new series. A TV source revealed to the Mirror that the former glamour model is filming a new reality series that will see her traveling with a team of paranormal experts to some of the UK's most haunted locations. Days after Katie Price was pictured tidying up her messy Sussex mansion. Oh, that poor girl. She had to clean her own mansion. She's been spotted having a different kind of clear out. The mom of five invited ghost hunting team The Hauntings into her £2 million home. Oh, I feel sorry for her. She once shared with estranged hubby Kieran Haler £2 million, Dave. It's just so bad that she's getting along as such.
Poor kid.
I know. A TV source revealed to the Mirror that Katie is preparing to film a new TV show with the paranormal experts. The premise of the new reality series will see Katie and the team of investigators checking out some of the most haunted spots in the UK and Europe. Katie is reportedly delighted to bag a new TV spot and claimed the show was just what she needed after her difficult few months. Cleaning that $2 million home, or £2 million home, excuse me, it's worth a little bit more here in the States. Fans of The Hauntings spotted Katie making an appearance on their Facebook page. The ex-glamour model appeared to be in a jovial mood as she was seen joking with the hosts and pretending to be a ghoul. Ghostbuster Lee Roberts from the show later tweeted, "Amazing day filming with this nutcase. Love her to bits, and glad to see her back on form and fighting fit." Lee and Katie have appeared together on UK TV's Celebrity Haunted Mansion and on My Crazy Life, where Lee performed a seance with Chris Boyson. Mirror Online has contacted representatives for comment. The news comes just after it was announced Katie's own reality show, My Crazy Life, would be back for a new series. The show will now return to air next week and looks set to go behind the scenes on what has been some of the most dramatic months of Katie's life. A new trailer sees Katie admitting that she's appalled at her behavior this past year. She said, "Everything I did was disgusting and not me," adding, "It weren't how it even came across in the papers again." She's got great English.
It weren't, huh?
It weren't. She's got great English, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for having a £2 million home. Katie Price will finally give her side of the story and come face-to-face with Chris Boyson and Kieran Haler. Kate is always ready to blame everybody else, her estranged husband Kieran explains. And during a heated exchange with her toy boy Chris, Katie may address her fling with Lex Adderson. Whoever that knows. You're sitting.
Wow, this has suddenly gone from interesting into completely who cares?
Yeah.
I just want to know about ghosts. Who cares if she's going to confront in her personal issues and delusions?
Oh, I'm sure there's people over there who do care, Dave.
Yeah, I guess.
We have a few listeners, I'm sure, who are just absolutely huddled up around their phones right now.
Are they?
Yeah, I think so. And probably are telling me that I'm pronouncing everything wrong. As we speak right now, they're typing into their little messengers and letting me know. I'm telling you.
Could be.
Yeah. But she's basically getting ready to destroy herself. Katie Price, My Crazy Life, airs on Quest Red at 10 p.m. on Monday, November 12th. So there you go.
All right. Well, good start. Where are we off to next?
Next, we talk about a poltergeist expert who abused children while watching horror films in a Renfrew cemetery and is jailed for 6 years. 43-year-old Jason Love began offending when he was only 12 years old and continued to abuse children into adulthood. A paranormal expert was jailed for 6 years after sexually molesting 3 boys during a 12-year catalog of abuse. Jason Love began offending when he was 12 years old and continued to abuse children through his teenage years and into adulthood. The 43-year-old Love committed sex offenses against his victims in Renfrew and Paisley and in the Cranhill area of Glasgow between 1987 and 1999. One victim was targeted by him while they watched horror films together. Love went on to develop a reputation as a demonologist and paranormal and occult investigator, and he gave lectures in his field internationally. He advertised that he undertook investigations into poltergeist attacks, demonic possession, and witchcraft and the occult. Love of Cartside, Glasgow, also worked as a psychiatric nurse, but was suspended in 2016 after the sex abuse allegations came to light. He denied the allegations, but was earlier convicted of 5 offenses of assault, indecent, and indecent behavior committed against the 3 boys. A judge told him at the High Court of Edinburgh today that the jury had found him guilty of several serious offenses. Lord Kinclaven said there is no alternative to a significant custodial sentence. No other method of dealing with you is appropriate, he went on to say. A significant part of your offending took place when you were young, although it extended into your teenage years and latterly into your 20s when you were 24. Lord Kinclaven said he accepted that Love was a first offender and that he has not offended again since 1999. Love began abusing his first victim when the child was only 3 years old, and it later escalated into more serious sexual offending. He also carried out sex acts on a second boy who was aged between 5 and 7 at a house in Paisley and a cemetery in Renfrew. He exposed himself to a third boy when the victim was aged between 11 and 13, simulated sex in his presence, and made him carry out a sex act on him. Defense counsel Evan Dow told the court, "There is little I can say about in relation to the offenses. The accused has maintained the position he advanced during the course of the trial. That remains his position." Mr. Dow said that although Love was 12 when the offending began, the most serious charge he was convicted on was committed when he was an adult. Love was placed on the sex offenders register indefinitely.
As he should be. Time to bring back burning at the stake, Tim.
I wouldn't argue that.
Or am I being a little too harsh?
No, I don't think so. No.
All right. Where are we off to next?
The Warren files have returned, according to this story, made increasingly famous by movies based on paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren real-life experiences. The Warren files were hosted Saturday in the John Lyman Center for the Performing Arts. Many are familiar with their stories from watching movies such as The Conjuring, Annabelle, or The Nun. Tony Spira, son-in-law of Ed and Lorraine Warren, showed the hard evidence of exorcisms and the paranormal. Event management director Larry Tomasak said the Lyman Center has booked the Warren Files every year for over 25 years. There was a time where we were like, we should bring it back every year, and we didn't bring it back, and people immediately called and asked where it was, said Tomasak. It got really popular the last couple of years, even without Lorraine, because it really took back off when The Conjuring came out. The event was originally hosted by the world-famous duo Ed and Lorraine Warren, who attended and performed thousands of exorcisms. When Mr. Warren died in 2006, son-in-law Tony Spira took over the family business with Lorraine, and now at the age of 91, Lorraine has given up greeting the public and explaining the details of shocking cases, leaving the show in the hands of Spira. Spira said he first got involved and started a relationship with the Warrens' daughter in 1979 and was immediately interested and wanted to help. I was very intrigued when I heard the stories, and then one day Ed asked if I wanted to help with the lectures, and I agreed, said Spira. So I sat through all of these lectures and listened to him talk and learned. I did that for like 4 or 5 years, and then he says, "Hey, do you want to come on some cases? I think you're ready now." Spira showed photographs that show ectoplasmic paranormal beings like the White Lady of Union Graveyard, a young lady who roams about this area in a white dress. Spira discussed many of the infamous cases through the many decades, including the Amityville Horror House and the Annabelle doll, both of which have inspired films. The part of the show with the largest crowd reaction was intense audio and video clips of real-life exorcisms, showing men and women allegedly possessed by demons react to crucifixes and holy water. Shrieks and screams from the filled auditorium left Sophomore and journalism major Sam Tapper uneasy, he said. My favorite part was probably the videos because they are as close to proof as we're going to get, said Tapper. It was definitely a lot more in-depth than I would have liked to have seen. Spira ended the night with a brief question and answer segment where he answered questions about the soon-to-reopen Warren Museum. He also stressed the importance of not challenging demons or dabbling with Satanism or dark arts. After helping host shows for over 3 decades and eventually succeeding the pioneers of the business, Spira said he continues to do these events to preserve the memory of the Warren family. He said, I want to continue their legacy because their legacy shouldn't die. Their message shouldn't die, said Spira. Their message is evil is real, evil exists, and you shouldn't dabble with evil. You shouldn't dabble with cult practices. You should worship God and not the devil, and know that the devil is always there to tempt you.
Jerky devil. All right, where are we off to next?
Jerky devil. That's all you have to say to that one, huh?
Well, jerky. He is always there to manipulate and screw with us, isn't he?
Jerky devil.
Yeah.
We move on to Las Vegas.
Not to be confused with the Jersey Devil, by the way.
Yeah. The Jersey Devil is completely different. We move on to a Las Vegas tattoo shop, Dave, where ghost hunters are investigating the paranormal at this haunted tattoo shop. Why, oh, why would you ever want to get a tattoo at a haunted tattoo shop? Because wow may be spelled in a different place than you may think. Just saying. Or Bob. You can imagine where it may be put. The story goes, when the mob ran Las Vegas, some members created a torture chamber of sorts, Dave, on Las Vegas Boulevard. Now that building houses a tattoo shop. The owner says he has proof that it's haunted. So he called in the experts from Sin City Paranormal Investigations, and some members of the group said that they have been thrown, punched, and scratched, all by spirits. Not the kind you drink, by the way. The team even has a medic on hand at every investigation. Fox 5 followed these people inside Wolfpack Tattoo Shop. The address, Dave, is 666 South Las Vegas Boulevard in downtown Las Vegas. Irony, you may say? I don't know. I think it's just kitschy. Bobby Ponte has owned the shop for 2 years, and in that short time, he has seen some spooky, unexplained stuff. Stuff comes off the walls when people are here, he said. We'll hear it crash, we'll come back, and stuff is broken. High electric bills, tools, and other items out of place. Ponte searched and searched for logical answers, but, he said, he couldn't find anything. I'm not someone who believes in things without seeing it, he went on to say. I've now seen enough things. There's no other explanation, he said. It's not a human. It's some kind of energy. So Ponte called in Sin City Paranormal Investigators. I'd like to ask questions that people wouldn't think of asking, lead instructor Brent Burris said. The ghost hunters did their research. They said this building had a rich history dating beyond the mob era. This particular area of the building would be used as a disciplinary area where they would take the people who were in trouble, team lead Natalie Ben Keeley Scott said. They've already swept through the building once. I noticed as I'm looking at paper towel, it started unrolling on its own. Brian James Williamson said, you heard it right, Dave. Paper towel unrolling on its own.
That's the first sign of the Antichrist.
It is.
Unspooling paper towels.
That's right. Then check this out. Then the paper towel roll lifted a couple of inches off the table and just dropped, Dave.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
My God.
I know, right? And then on Friday night, as soon as we walked in, that faucet turned on and they recognized our energy from last time, Burris said. They're ready to play and they're ready to communicate.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know, right? And this time they said they felt a presence immediately. Just like anything in life, it takes time, Burris said. So once you gain the spirit's trust, they are more apt to communicate with you the more you come back to visit them. And they said their main goal to help spirits on the other side. It's just a matter of finding out why, Burris said. Some people are taken too soon in car crash or murders. They're taken from this earth too fast so they don't know that they've passed on. And sometimes it's up to us to come in and help them realize they're no longer on this earth. So we try to help them pass on into the light. The group said interest in the paranormal always spikes around Halloween. Their next trip will be to the Goldfield Hotel in November, where they'll really tackle some demonic spirits. If you want more information on the group, you can go to their Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Sin City Paranormal. Maybe they'll run across, a haunted oven mitt or something weird like that.
Hey, we want to hear from you. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call into our Voices from Beyond voicemail, 651-300-4977. 651-300-4977. That's the quickest and most effective way to share your stories. You can leave up to a 3-minute message telling us about your own personal paranormal experiences. 651-300-4977. Make sure to give it a call right now and leave your message. It may be featured on an upcoming episode. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness on a Supernatural News Parashare Saturday. A little bit later on, we'll be reading some of your stories. Plus, Tim, I've been out traveling a lot and getting stories from listeners about their paranormal experiences. We're going to share some of that audio a little bit later as well, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, where are we off to next in the world of supernatural news?
Indian River County, Dave, in the jail to be specific, where...
Dun, dun, dun. We're going to jail?
Well, we're going to jail, Dave, but temporarily. Okay. We're not staying. There's a ghost named Bill there, and I just happen to think a ghost named Bill is scary enough not to stay at Indian River County Jail. I just don't want to be in jail.
All right.
Put it that way.
There goes your street cred.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't think Indian River County Jail is exactly the place to pick up street cred, but everyone's heard of Casper the Friendly Ghost, but how about a ghost named Bill? I love that Johnny Cash song, by the way. No, it's not.
No, that's a boy named Sue.
Oh, that's what that is.
Totally different.
Oh, okay. A 46-year-old Indian River County Jail inmate on October 7th reported to investigators that a ghost named Bill told him to swing a broom at a television to get out of jail. This according to an affidavit.
And he believed him, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Vincent Foggy is accused of taking a long-handled broom and hitting a flat-screen television in the jail, damaging the TV. Probably not the smartest thing to do.
No, not going to be real popular with the rest of the inmates.
Yeah, you're not going to make friends and influence people that way. Security footage shows Foggy swinging the broom at a flat-screen television valued at about $300 on the wall. Foggy said to deputies he was told by a ghost named Bill to swing the broom at the television in order to get out of jail. Yeah.
Bill, stop being a jerk, man.
The only
He's
Bill,
a older jerk.
The only Bill that you could get away with there would probably be Bill Cosby, but I don't think he's in favor with anybody these days. Rather than being freed from incarceration, Foggy was arrested on a criminal mischief charge in connection with the alleged TV bashing. No word on if the television is recuperating. It wasn't immediately clear whether a ghost named Bill shares any criminal liability. Foggy had been in jail following a number of arrests, including alleged sex offender registration-related violation, which probably didn't make him any friends there in Indian County River Jail. Yeah. Indian River County. There you go.
Where are we off to next?
Next, we go to a very popular actor, Lawrence Fishburne, as he's going to headline a UFO anthology television series on Rendlesham Forest. Though he's been seen in notable supporting roles on ABC's Blackish, John Wick 2, and more, recently in Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Lawrence Fishburne is set to star and executive produce the UFO anthology drama Rendlesham for Sony Pictures Television. The series is the latest effort to bring the search for extraterrestrial life and the question, are we alone, to television. Though it sounds far less conspiratorial in tone than, say, The X-Files or even history's upcoming Project Blue Book, the series aims to focus on a real-life account of a UFO sighting pulling from an incident from a U.S. air base near the show's namesake Rendlesham, Suffolk, in 1980, wherein people reported they had seen an unidentified object in the sky, which then proceeded to characteristically speed off before anyone could properly document the craft. Basing the series on such an event will no doubt result in added interest when and if the series premieres, putting Rendlesham in the same league as such films as Communion and Fire in the Sky. As reported by Deadline, Fishburne is set to play a retired American airman named Tyrone, who returns to the area to care for his wife's ailing father. After having been stationed near Rendlesham during the original incident, the series, written by Doctor Who and Da Vinci Demons writer Joe Ahern, will unfold during two timelines, one in 1980 during the original sightings, and one in 2020, 40 years later. So far, there's no word on other cast members or who will play a young Tyrone. The series is being billed as an anthology, presumably one like American Horror Story, in which a season will encompass an entire story. Whether or not this means future seasons of Rendlesham intend to focus on other close encounters remain to be seen. The same goes for Fishburne's involvement in the series, should it move past the first season. It sounds like an intriguing series, one bolstered by the presence of Fishburne and by the use of dual timelines to explore an unexplained event that's since gone on to become notorious among UFO enthusiasts and anyone who still proudly proclaims that they want to believe in beings from another world. There you go.
Now, that sounds interesting. I would watch it. I'm not a fan of the American Horror Story anthology series. I tried a couple and I just couldn't get into them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either of American Horror Story. A lot of people kind of groove on it, and to me, it's disjointed. I don't know. I'm not really into it myself.
Yeah. All right, where are we off to next?
Scientists say I love this name because I sound like I've got a mouthful of Oreos. Say the mysterious Oumuamua object could be an alien.
The what?
The Oumuamua.
Is that Oumuamua object?
Oumuamua object.
Okay.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Sure, why not?
Isn't it Oumuamua?
Do 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 do.
Oumuamua.
Do 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 do.
Oumuamua.
Do 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 do. I think it fits.
I think it does, yeah. It could be an alien spacecraft. Harvard researchers raised the possibility that it's a probe sent by extraterrestrials. It could be an alien spacecraft, but scientists have been puzzling over Oumuamua. It just sounds like I'm finally having that stroke, Dave.
Yeah, it does.
Oumuamua. Ever since the mysterious space object has been observed tumbling past the sun in late 2017, given its high speed and unusual trajectory, the reddish stadium-sized whatever it is had clearly come from outside our solar system, but its flattened, elongated shape and the way it's accelerated on its way through the solar system set it apart from conventional asteroids and comets. Now a pair of Harvard researchers are raising the possibility that Oumuamua is an alien spacecraft. It sounds like stuff I say in my sleep. As they say in a paper to be published November 12th, the Astrophysical Journal Letters, which I get on my doorstep at 5 a.m. every morning, the object may be a fully operational probe sent intentionally to Earth vicinity by an alien civilization. Why? Because scientists have nothing better to do than just speculate that. The researchers aren't claiming outright that the aliens have sent Oumuamua, but after a careful mathematical analysis of the way the interstellar object sped up as it shot past the sun, they say Oumuamua, which they couldn't have put in here more, the name that is, in this article, could be a spacecraft pushed through space by light falling on its surface, or as they put it in the paper, a light sail of artificial origin. Who would have sent such a spacecraft our way and why, you may ask? It is impossible to... Do you have an answer for that, Dave?
I was going to say, and why, Tim? I was hoping you had an answer for me.
Well, we're about to find out.
Okay.
It is impossible to guess the purpose behind Oumuamua without more data. How can you say that name with a straight face and then try and give a serious answer? Avi Loeb, the chairman of Harvard's astronomy department and a co-author of the paper, told NBC News Mock in an email, if Oumuamua is a light sail, he added, that sounds like the beginning of a James Taylor song, doesn't it? If Oumuamua is a light sail and you were a carpenter. He added one possibility is that it was floating in interstellar space when our solar system ran into it, like a ship bumping into a buoy on the surface of the ocean. That's so poetic. I almost want to hug him. Earthlings have launched simple solar-powered light sails of our own, and Loeb is an advisor to Breakthrough Starshot, an initiative that plans to send a fleet of tiny laser-powered light sail craft to the nearest star system. But the technology is in its infancy, at least here on Earth. Loeb and his collaborator, Shmuel Bialy, a postdoctoral fellow at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, acknowledged that the alien spacecraft scenario is an exotic one, and perhaps not surprisingly, other space scientists have strong doubts about it. It's certainly ingenious to show that an object the size of Oumuamua might be sent by aliens to another star system with nothing but a solar sail for power. Seth Shostak, a senior astronomer at the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California, said in an email, but one should not blindly accept this clever hypothesis when there is also a mundane and more likely explanation for Oumuamua, namely that it's a comet or asteroid from afar. Corin Baylor Jones, an astronomer from the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy in Heidelberg, Germany, voiced similar objections. In Science, he said in an email, we must ask ourselves, where is the evidence, not where is the lack of evidence, so I can fit any hypothesis in that I like. Baylor Jones, who earlier this year led a group of scientists who identified 4 dwarf stars as likely origin points for Oumuamua, raised questions in particular about the object's tumbling motion. Why send a spacecraft which is doing this? He said, if it were a spacecraft, this tumbling would make it impossible to keep any instruments pointed at the Earth. Of course, one could say now it was an accident or the aliens did this to deceive us. One can always come up with increasingly implausible suggestions that have no evidence in order to maintain an idea. But Leb called this conjecture purely scientific and evidence-based, adding, I follow the maxim of Sherlock Holmes. When you have excluded the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. The truth may be hard to establish, as Oumuamua has left the solar system. That should be an Elvis-type announcement. Oumuamua has left the solar system. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, and is no longer viable, or visible rather, even with telescopes. In any case, Leb said, the fact that we've observed one interstellar object like Oumuamua suggests that others may be out there, and astronomers should begin a search for them. A survey for light sails as techno-signatures of extraterrestrial civilizations in the solar system is warranted, he said, irrespective of whether Oumuamua is one of them. And there you go.
You know what I need about that story?
What's that?
Oumuamua story. That's what I need, Tim.
No, I feel like I need poi, a lay, and a grass skirt.
Pardon me? you get a laid? What? I can't help you with that.
I need
Where
poi,
are we off to next?
A lay, and a grass skirt. We move on now. We're still out there in the universe as scientists propose a planetary porch light to attract ETs. If Oumuamua wasn't enough for you, Dave, a scientist at MIT has proposed a novel new approach to establishing contact with ETs. Create a proverbial porch light for Earth that will attract their attention. Graduate student James Clark has laid out a plan for a newly published paper in which he examined the feasibility of using lasers, friggin' lasers, Dave, to produce a beacon which would shoot out into space. According to his research, a powerful 1 to 2 megawatt laser could be aimed through a giant telescope to create an enormous beam of infrared radiation that would easily be noticed by advanced civilizations looking for life in our corner of the universe. In fact, Clark's computations suggest that the beam could be visible up to 20,000 light years away. That number is significant because TRAPPIST-1, the closest star, which boasts exoplanets that may harbor life, sits a mere 40 light years away from Earth. And, of course, the 19,960 light years beyond that may contain countless potential worlds within the vaunted Goldilocks zone that may potentially come across the beacon emanating from Earth. Part of what makes Clark's research exciting is that such an idea could be put into practice in the near future using technology already available or soon to come to fruition. That said, the researcher noted that the porch light is not without its problems, as much like the sun, the beacon could prove to be dangerous to anyone foolish enough to look directly at it. In other words, we're going to blind aliens.
What if one flies through the laser beam? Could it, cut their ship in half?
Well, it's not a heat laser.
Concentrated lasers?
It's not a heat laser as much as it is a light laser. Like when we blind airplanes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but those can actually do damage to your retina. So there is some kind of damage, and then you're intensifying it by putting it through a giant telescope. I'm not just saying. I think we might be cutting aliens in half.
Or burning ants, one or the other. I don't know. As such, he conceded that the ideal location for the beam source would probably be on the dark side of the moon or on a Pink Floyd album, where it would not interfere with earthly affairs. Spoken like a true scientist, Clark mused that this was a feasibility study. Whether or not this is a good idea, that's a discussion for future work. Indeed, one hopes that there would be considerable debate here on Earth before we decided to flip the switch and let aliens know that we are home. Then again, it may be too late for that, since a group of scientists have already sent a radio signal from Earth, specifically with the intention of contacting ETs, and without anyone having a say in the matter, so it may all be a moot point if they pick up that message first. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. And next up on the docket?
A haunted doll dispute is settled on a British TV court show. There's a good reason for those TV court shows, Dave. A daytime TV court show in Britain was recently called upon to settle a strange dispute surrounding an alleged haunted doll. The bizarre case took center stage on the Halloween edition of the program, Judge Rinder, which is essentially a British version of the People's Court. The central issue being contested was a man's claim that he never received the full payment for a sale of a purportedly haunted doll. In the wildly amusing segment, the judge first questions defendant Chris Power about a weird casket in which the doll named Angela sits. Much to the magistrate's profound confusion, he is told that the box was created at the behest of the figurine, who told Power to build it. The weirdness continues as they then discuss whether or not the doll is evil, and Rinder shows a video which Power claims shows a ghost cat, although the judge is less than convinced that it is really a feline spirit. Getting to the heart of the matter, Rinder eventually learns that Power promised to pay around $1,000 for the doll, yet stopped short of settling the full debt soon after it arrived in the mail. When asked why he refused to hold up his end of the deal, he offered a truly amazing excuse. "Well, Angela told me we mustn't pay it," Power revealed. "I know it sounds mad and bizarre."
Plot twist.
Yeah. Power revealed, "I know it sounds mad and bizarre, but that's the truth." Unfortunately, his reasoning didn't hold water with Rinder, who ordered Power to pay the remaining sum to the doll's former owner. After rendering the verdict, the judge rubbed some proverbial salt in the wound by politely asking him to have a word with Angela just to make sure she doesn't say something awful. I like this judge. While Power may not be thrilled about the way his 15 minutes of fame unfolded, he should at least be thankful that his case wasn't decided in the courtroom of Judge Judy, since we can only imagine how merciless her questioning would have been.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Is that it for this week in the weird and unusual news of the world?
That is it, sir.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Your story is featured next right here on Beyond the Darkness.
Beyond the Darkness.
Welcome back to the show. This is the best in paranormal talk radio. You can catch us here every Saturday and Sunday. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, along with me, Tim Dennis. Tim, I've had a chance to do a lot of traveling this year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of traveling. And I've talked to people just like you who've had paranormal experiences. So I've got a couple of audio bits from these conferences. Let's go ahead and hear a couple of creepy stories, including one from the Palmer House Hotel and a creepy killer ghost encounter.
All right, we are live, and we are at the Shooting Star Casino 8th Annual Paracon. And your name is?
Carrie Double Air.
Carrie?
Yep.
Okay, and Carrie, you were just telling me a very interesting story about the Palmer House Hotel and your time there.
Yep, my first experience.
Well,
first time.
Please explain.
So I was sleeping. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and I felt a tug on my foot. Kind of woke up. I was still kind of sleeping, and then I felt a harder tug, and I'm like, okay, and then I was awake. And then the third time, I was almost pulled out of the bed. And it was towards the hall where we have a door, facing the hallway. And I'm kind of freaked out by it a little bit still to this day.
Understandable,
and
right?
And then my mom woke up because I screamed, and I was really ticked off because I shouldn't be woken up because I'm crabby anyway. So wake me up, so I was crabby. And we looked at the bed, and all the sheets and the comforter were pulled towards the hall, where I was just trying to, try to pull me out of bed. So I have another experience at the Palmer House. I've been there 3 times.
Okay, 3 times.
The second time I brought my dog, Ace. He's an Australian Shepherd.
Okay.
And we were in the basement. Of course, in the dark, we're doing the whole, tour. And my dog's calm. He's a very calm dog. Laying on the floor, and all of a sudden he started barking. And he's in the center of the group. And we're like, what's going on? We looked down the hall, and a black figure went down the hall. And and we all saw it.
And so your dog even
Yes.
was aware of what was going on at the Palmer House.
My
Now, with
dog-
that said,
Yes.
you've had some wild experiences there.
Yeah.
But yet you keep going back.
Yes.
You love
Yep.
the Palmer House?
I love the Palmer House.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
your story.
Thanks
Thank you.
a lot.
And who have I got talking to me now?
This is Michael Judd.
Michael Judd. All right, Michael. Now, you started to tell me a story a little bit ago that's really kind of creepy as hell. Do you mind sharing that with our audience?
No, I sure don't.
All right, what have you got?
This would have been summer of 1991. A friend of mine and I, we were trying to escape his girlfriend. She was high maintenance, and we had 3 or 4 places we would go to hide from her. So we went to a park, which is a park in the town I grew up in, which is Florissant, Missouri. It backs up to 100 acres of a wildlife area. And then on the other side of that is a highway and just basically North St. Louis metropolis type area, or county area. He and I go up there, and we're hanging out and talking to each other, and he's complaining about his girlfriend. And all of a sudden we see his girlfriend drive into the parking area. So we hit the deck like brave grown people would, and we're hiding. And she pulls in and she looks for us, but she's not going to get out of the car, and she pulls away. Well, when we get back up, we notice that there's now a girl in this playground area with us. And we both look at her and we look at each other and we're like, well, that's weird. She wasn't there before. And so we walk over to another section of the playground, and she goes to where we just were. We're like, okay, so she knows we're here, because we were thinking, well, we were hiding from his girlfriend. She didn't know we were there, so we made ourselves known, and she goes to the thing we had just left. And that happened.
How old does this girl look to you at this time?
At this time, she does. It's hard to tell because it's 11 o'clock at night. So
Okay.
it is. We just know it's female.
Right.
So then we watch her for a little bit, and we're like, this chick is weird. So she wanders over and sits down on the swing set, which had 3 swings, and she takes the middle one. We're like, all right, let's go check this out. So we walk over, and she's sitting there, and she's leaning forward, and she's hanging on the chains with her head down, and she had long hair, so it was covering her face. Mm-hmm. And so, not quite as creepy as The Ring, but the same concept. You can't see her face. And so he walks over and sits on he would have been on her right side, I was on her left. And my friend has no filters. He's one of those awesome people that just says whatever pops into his brain.
Sure.
And first we were just like, what the hell are you doing here? And she said, oh, I was just out for a walk, and this is where I wound up. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So...
Right. I
we
mean,
started
it's
asking
11
her-
o'clock at night in a heavily wooded area with this young woman by herself.
Well, the park's not heavily wooded. It's
Okay.
an open park, but it backs up to the woods. And
Right.
So we're thinking, what direction did you come from? She goes, well, I came out of the trees. And I'm like, you were wandering around in the woods at 11 o'clock at night. She goes, no, I didn't pass through a bunch of woods. I just came out from there. And I'm going, what? You couldn't have just come out from there. You had to pass through the woods. My friend goes, okay, so where are you from? She's like, well, I'm from Ferguson. I'm like, and you were walking around in Ferguson and you're here now? She's like, yeah. I'm like, Ferguson's 5 miles away from here, and you would have had to cross a major highway. She goes, no, I didn't cross a highway. And I'd lean back and look at my friend like, this chick is whacked. And so all of a sudden he's like, so, you got a boyfriend? She's like, yeah. He's pretty cool. He's got a brand new TA. And I'm like going, TA? I haven't heard that. What people used to call Trans Ams all the time. And I'm like, a brand new TA? Does he think he's Burt Reynolds? She goes, yeah, it's brown, just like his. It's brand new and it's really cool and fast. And I'm looking at my friend going, they don't make brown Trans Ams anymore. And he's like, shakes it off. And so he goes, so you and your boyfriend, you like having sex and stuff? She goes, yeah, we have sex. He's kind of mean when we do it, and sometimes he makes me have sex with him and all his friends. And I lean back and I look at my friend and I'm like, that is just messed up. And so we were trying to get more information out of her. We tried to get her name. She just refused to give us a name. Tried to get his name. She refused to give us his name. And after a little bit, she sits there and, we're asking her more questions about her abusive boyfriend. And from what she described, he was very abusive and it was sexual abuse. Very disturbing stuff. And finally, she's just sitting there and she goes, I gotta go. And she stands up and walks around the swing set right in front of me, and I'm trying to see her face. Never could see it. Never once got a look at her face. She never looked either one of us in the eye. She walks around the swing set and she goes up to the woods, and there's a chain link fence that somebody had cut so that you could go into the woods. And as soon as she hit that fence, she was gone. And I mean, like she just went into a whole nother world, teleported, poof, gone.
Okay.
And at that moment, I looked over at my friend and I go, she was dead, wasn't she? He goes, I think so. And we sat there for probably another 10 minutes in just pure silence before we got creeped out enough that we're like, it's time to go on back to your house even if your crazy girlfriend's there. And so we left. And I regret to this day not investigating that story. But we had the discussion of, okay, if we call the Ferguson police and start asking about a blonde, young, missing person, are we going to become instant suspects?
Right.
And so we never did follow up or investigate that at all.
But what does your gut tell you about what you experienced?
My gut tells me that that was a dead girl telling us her story, and she's in those woods.
So you think she's buried there in the woods?
That would be a perfect place to bury somebody.
Really?
Because the parking lot to the park is easy access to that cut in that chain link fence, and you could drag something in there quickly, dig a hole.
You don't think she's very deep into the woods then?
No, I don't think you would. What's the point once you get past, a little bit into the woods,
sure,
dig a hole. So yeah, I would, especially since she came out on that side of the woods.
Okay.
If she was deep in, she might wander the woods, but.
Now, did you ever return to that area again?
Oh, I went to that area all the time. This was a regular park that we hung out at, but I never did see her again. Never, that was an area I grew up in and played in, and we never came across her again.
And did you ever look up to see if there were any unsolved cases of missing women or missing girls in that area that looked like her?
No, I didn't. That's what I was saying. That's one of my greatest regrets, because I honestly think it came looking for help, and we failed it. We failed it miserably. But we were, I was 19, 20 years old in 91. I'd been 20. So, yeah, we failed miserably.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yep.
Hey, if you'd like to be a part of the show and share your own personal paranormal encounters, you can always email them to me, dave@darknessradio.com. dave@darknessradio.com, or give us a call on our Voices from Beyond voicemail, 651-300-4977. That's the phone number to call, 651-300-4977. Leave up to a 3-minute message. If you need more time, just call right back and continue your message. Tim will stitch them together into a longer voicemail. So if you'd like to, again, give us a call and tell us your story and have it featured on an upcoming episode, 651-300-4977, or email me, just like these people did. Hi, Dave and Shannon. Did you change your name or have a sex change?
No, not at all.
While I was gone?
Nope.
I don't know if they, I know Shannon LeGros fills in for me as you do on Midnight in the Desert. But I got a story here anyway. Tim, are you dancing under the name Shannon again?
Nope.
Tim?
Nope.
In the early 90s, I moved into a haunted house in Smyrna, Georgia. We didn't know until the neighbor came over with a newspaper telling how the house was owned previously by a hitman in the Dixie Mafia. I didn't realize there was a Dixie Mafia, Tim. They come with a brass band?
I guess so.
Is that the way it goes down?
I guess.
Little Dixieland band and then machine gunning?
I guess.
A few weird things went on that makes me think it was haunted. For instance, we had the TV downstairs in the basement. I had these windows at ground level outside, but at night down there, I always got this horrible feeling of being watched from those windows. Anyway, one time after work, I was laying down in the basement on the couch, waiting for my wife to come home, laying with my back to the room. I heard someone walk up behind me and sigh. I thought it was my wife, so I didn't move and stayed there for a few minutes until I heard my wife actually drive up and close the car door. So no one was home. The last weird thing was my wife was with my daughter in her bedroom in the basement, and they were at the dresser. And my wife comes out with her face white as a sheet and told me that my daughter's jewelry box opened and closed in front of both of them. Well, we ended up divorced, and I wonder how much of it was because of something in that house. We were always fighting, and it was always borderline serious, including with the stepkids acting up to the point one had to be institutionalized briefly. Anyway, that's my story, and that's from Bill in Georgia. It's a little shocking, Bill. Maybe I'm wrong, Tim. I thought it was shocking.
No, it's pretty shocking.
Hello, Dave. Are you still collecting ghost stories? Because I have one for you. Halloween is where the veil separating us from the spirit world is at its thinnest, making it easier to connect with the dead, according to old Irish folklore. On Halloween night, put your clothes on inside out and backwards. Walk backward to the crosswalk, turn around, and you will see a spirit or a witch. A few years ago, my brother, his friend, and I tried this myth at a historical church with a cemetery. We chose to visit Gloria Dei Church at Columbus Boulevard and Christian Street in Philadelphia. It was founded in 1700. We put our clothes on inside out and backwards, secured a video recorder as we visit this historical place. We walk into the cemetery backwards while filming a video. At the crosswalk, I turn around frontwards while holding the video camera, viewing the area in front of me. Out in the distance, inside the cemetery's garden, there are 3 people dressed in black, each holding a candle, forming a circle. We start to laugh. I say, "Oh, there are the witches." We continue our visit while filming the cemetery. We try to go inside the church, but the door is locked because it is after 10 p.m. At the time of my live recording, I did not notice anything unusual other than the 3 witches. Well, that's pretty unusual, Tim. Am I wrong?
No.
You go into a cemetery with your clothes on inside out and backwards, and you're told you'll see ghosts or witches, and you go into a cemetery, and there's 3 people standing around in dark black wearing, in a cemetery with candles. Yeah, nothing really weird happened. You just saw those 3 witches. That's all, Tim.
That's bizarre.
We came back to my house to review our video. After seeing the 3 witches, we continue to review our video. In the area of the graveyard near the church, standing over a grave marker, there's a transparent image of a male, visible only from his waist to his head. His stomach, hips, and legs are invisible. He's wearing a shirt, a cravat, and jacket with his collar turned up. He has dark hair and long sideburns. As we view this image, we're no longer laughing. This is all too crazy for us. We want an unbiased opinion. I get my neighbor to watch our video. The neighbor watches our video and says to us, "Hey, an Elvis sighting." My plan is to send my video to National Geographic TV station. At this time, NG was broadcasting shows about paranormal activities. The following morning, my brother and his friend returned to the church and its cemetery. They retraced our steps to the area where the image of the ghost mill was captured. We wanted to debunk our video. Could a bush or a tree branch have a similar appearance to our Elvis ghost? They saw nothing that mimics the male in our video. As they're leaving the grounds of the church and cemetery, they notice a large poster. The poster provides some history on the church and cemetery. On the poster, there's a history and an artist drawing of Nicholas Collin from 1745 to 1831. Collin is the last Swedish priest who served at Gloria Dei until his death in 1831. As my brother and his friend sees Collin's image, they're spooked. The image captured on our video resembles Collin. My brother calls me and tells me that the name of our ghost is Nick Collin. I start shaking with fear. I only wanted some Halloween fun. I avoid the church and its cemetery for about 2 weeks. Eventually, I visit the church and view the image of Nick Collin. It's true. He looks like the male in our video. I go back home with my plan to make a copy of my Halloween video to mail off to National Geographic. I'll forward the information about the church and its last Swedish pastor. My video is gone. Since my sons have all moved out, how could I have misplaced my Elvis ghost video? To this day, the video remains missing. Trick or treat. I swear to all that this is a true story. Please feel free to make any edits. I provided the name of the church for you to support my credibility. However, I do not want this church run over by ghost hunters. That comes from Joyce. Too late, Joyce. You told us the name of the church, and we put it out there. I can't stop ghost hunters from going, but it's a cool story nonetheless. Thank you for sharing that with us. Dear Dave and Tim, I would like to remain anonymous if you use this story on air. My first paranormal experience happened when I was probably 9 or 10 years old. I've seen things at the corner of my eyes before at a younger age, but then I don't count those as experiences because things are seen at the corner of your eyes can be anything, and your eyes can just be playing tricks on you. Well, at least that's what I always thought. Anyway, that night was a weekday, and so my mother made my younger brother and I go to bed early since we have school the next day. As my teenage brothers got to stay up a little later because they were more responsible of waking themselves up for school. My mother likes to leave the hallway light on so it will shine into the bedroom as a night light, and we will all see our way to the bathroom in the middle of the night if we need to. But I like to sleep in complete darkness, so I shut my door tight like always and jumped on my bed that was up against the wall. I remembered that it was a cool night, but not cold enough for a thick blanket yet, so I was just using a thin blanket to cover me. I also like to sleep facing the wall because I don't like the idea of waking up in the middle of the night and see a face or something watching me sleep. Yeah, that's a pretty good goal not to have that happen, Tim.
Oh, yes.
Don't nobody need none of that, Tim. Don't nobody need it.
Nope.
I usually fall asleep quickly, but this night seemed different. I couldn't fall asleep at all. As I was closing my eyes, trying to empty my mind about things I wanted to do the next day and just go to sleep, when I heard footsteps coming into my room. Very light steps shuffling across the carpet from my door and around my bed. I thought it was my younger brother who sneaked out of his bedroom and was trying to do a sneak attack on me, and I smiled, thinking that I would scare him before he could scare me. But then I just realized something. The hallway light was on. If it was my brother or anyone, I would have heard the door open and the hallway light would have shone into the bedroom. I slowly peeked at the door, and the door was still shut tight. And I can see the hallway light glowing around the cracks of the door. The shuffling stopped right behind my back, and I can hear its deep, slow breathing, waiting for me to turn around. My heart started beating fast, and I could hear it pounding in my ears. I closed my eyes tightly, and I wished I could just fall asleep right then and get this night over with. I never prayed before, but I started praying for the angels to protect me. Then I felt a hand gently and slowly stroke down my leg. This was enough for me. I jumped up from my bed and quickly switched on the light, and I saw that there was no one in the room besides me. I froze for about 5 seconds, scanning the room, and made sure that the window wasn't open. I rushed out of the room and into my parents' bedroom, waking them up and told them what I just heard and felt. From that day on, I leave my bedroom door open so the hallway light will shine in and I face back to the wall. My mother believed that maybe because my oldest brother, who gets back home from work in the middle of the night, probably brought something back with him, because strange things happen to my oldest brother the most. The scariest was one night he came back from work. My mother likes to clean and tidy everyone's bedroom while everyone is at school or work, but my oldest brother doesn't like my mother touching his mess, so he always locked his bedroom door before he left for work. Well, this night, he got home and unlocked the bedroom door and saw that his bedroom was all clean and tidy. His messy blanket he left on his bed was nicely folded at the end of the bed. The papers and books that were on the ground and everywhere were all nicely stacked on top of his desk. His dirty clothes he had left on the ground was in the laundry basket. And all his clean clothes that he hadn't put away were folded and put away. The next morning, he asked my mom if she had gone into his bedroom somehow and cleaned his room, but my mother said she hadn't, and that he had locked his door, so there was no way she could have gotten in. My mom's not the type of person who likes to play jokes, so then my brother got really scared. He then remembered that the folded blanket and his folded clean clothes were folded very nicely. It didn't look like it was quickly folded and put away, like my mom or anyone else would do cleaning a room. It looked like someone had to spend so much time and patience folding those clothes, where the corners and sides perfectly aligned and straight and flat, and the papers and books were nicely stacked on the desk. There are more strange things that I've experienced and saw, but I think those two are the scariest ones so far. You guys are the best. Much love from California. I think our friend, Tim, has a much different perspective of scary than I do.
That could be.
If something comes in my room and cleans it,
yeah,
I'm not going to complain.
That's a blessing.
That's not terrifying to me. That's exciting.
Right.
It's alluring, Tim.
That's like that's like Mrs. Wilson, the ghost at the Stanley. That's not scary at all. That's called turn down service.
Yeah, I'd sign up for that deal.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, I've got a couple of more stories, if you don't mind. We'll share from some of the conventions I've been attending.
Sure.
Okay, we are back. We're at the Shooting Star Casino, the 5th annual Paracon. And your name is?
Tiny McNeil.
Okay, and now you worked where?
At the Fergus Falls Regional Treatment Center.
All right, now tell us a little bit about it. Was it haunted when you worked there?
Well, yeah. It's been there for over 100 years, and there have been lots and lots of people going through there. And there are a lot of people that died there and were buried out back, and that were there without headstones. People totally forgot about these people. And so, yeah, it was haunted.
What type of things would happen when you were there?
Well, I was sitting at work one evening, and I'm an adult psychiatric mental health nurse, and I was in charge, and I was sitting doing work or answering the phone or something, and I glanced off to the side, and there's a smoking porch off to my right, and I saw shadows moving out there where the patients were not permitted to smoke after a certain time at night. So I asked my coworker to go find out who was out on the porch and make sure they were okay and all that, because I don't care if they smoke. And there was no one there, just the shadows, and other people had seen that as well. And there was a woman, I don't know if I'll call her Mary, that's common enough, that I had worked with for many years off and on. He was admitted and stayed for a while and got better and went home and then came back. And she died sometime in the interim. And she's very friendly. Anyone that comes to visit, she will talk to you. Her spirit will come and talk to you because she felt safe. Most of the people felt safe in that institution. And they were treated very well. And so they lived there. And some people, they lived there in the next life because they did want to be there, and many people would go out and do something extraordinary so that they would have to come back because that's what they considered home. And so Mary roams the hall. She doesn't hurt anyone. She was a nice person.
Are there any scary stories associated associated with there with the spirits?
The scary ones, I don't know, it depends on a person is what you perceive as scary.
Right.
I know that our nighttime supervisors would not go in the tunnels to make rounds. That was part of their job, was to go down and wander through the tunnels to make sure we didn't have somebody sneaking in so they could camp out there or riding their skateboards, because lots of tunnels, and they had a ball down there skateboarding. And so that was part of their job, was to go down and check that out. And she absolutely refused to go down there by herself. She went to a unit and got the biggest guy that was on duty to go with her. Like, that's going to be.
Would they hear voices and see things down there?
Yeah, there are many people that do. Yep.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for telling your stories.
You're very welcome.
All right, we've got another new story to share. This is a very unusual, creepy encounter. And what's your name?
Marnie.
Marnie?
Yes.
Okay, Marnie. So go ahead. What have you got for us?
I was 5 years old. I was sleeping in a double bed with my brother, who was 3 at the time. Was having trouble sleeping, rolling around. I could hear my parents watching the evening news, the 10 o'clock news out. And I kept rolling back and forth, and I rolled, and there was a clown standing beside my bed.
No.
And he was staring down at me, and I could hear him breathing.
Now, wait a minute. Describe what this clown looked like. I mean, was it a happy bozo-looking clown?
More of a maniacal, scary. The red hair, the whole thing. I was up so long that when the furnace would kick on, I could hear the cheap satin rustling on his outfit, and I was so afraid to move. And then I hear the Johnny Carson music from the other room. You got it. My parents are turning down the lights. They're going to bed, and I'm so terrified to scream out to them.
Right.
I don't. I snake my arm underneath the covers, and I pinch my brother in the soft part of his arm, trying to wake him up. He didn't wake up. He pulled away from me, so I kept closing and opening my eyes, hoping the next time I open my eyes, this will be gone. And it just wasn't. And it seemed to me that it went on for hours. And then I think I just really fell asleep out of just pure exhaustion and terror. And then the next morning I woke up and I told my parents. They, of course, thought I was dreaming. But my brother did have a bruise where I pinched him. And that I have no explanation. I didn't see it leave. I think I literally just from the opening and closing my eyes, hoping it would be gone, passed out or fell asleep, and it never happened again. It was the one time, but it is very vivid and it's stuck with me my entire life.
It never spoke?
No.
Did it make any noises at all?
It did blink.
Okay.
No other noise.
Just breathing.
Breathing.
Staring.
And when the furnace would kick off and on, I could hear the satin on its outfit rustling because the furnace was very close to the bed.
Was his outfit tattered and torn or dirty or bloody?
No, it was purple and green. And with the red tie, I stared for so long. I would know it, this stupid clown again if I saw it, but I've never seen anything exactly like that. But
well, thank you for the nightmare.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Welcome.
Bye-bye.
I love when we get a chance to meet with our listeners and hear their stories. It's stories like that always reinvigorate the energy and excitement about what we do. You have nothing to add to that, Tim?
No. I do too. I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing all these stories, and thank you all for sharing them with us. And remember, if I don't get a chance to get to your state or town and you'd like to share your paranormal encounters, you can call our Voices from Beyond voicemail, 651-300-4977, 651-300-4977. Share your stories with us right now. Dave and Tim, I really appreciate what you guys do and wanted to contribute my own story in hopes that it'll help change someone's life. On January 14th of next year, I'll celebrate my rebirth day. I was involved in a horrible accident that should have taken my life. Per first responder reports, I was driving down a local interstate, and I have no memory of that day. Suddenly, a Bernie-style trash can about 3 feet tall came out in front of me. I took evasive action and swerved to avoid it. As I straightened my car out and tried to return to the road, I was T-boned by a trash truck doing at least 65 miles an hour. The driver is on record of saying he never hit the brakes. That unfortunate incident was so severe that it put me in a coma that I was in for 32 days. Today, I have zero issues except the damage affected my speech. I'm much harder on myself about how it sounds. Honestly, if you could see my severity before and then see me now, I'd gladly take the speech issues as opposed to the alternative. Honestly, the speech just lends some credibility to my story, and I'm okay with that. My life is now deeply rooted in Christian faith. I'm now a churchgoer every Sunday. A couple of weeks ago, I went as always. My wife was unable to attend that day as she had to suddenly babysit for our granddaughter. I'm never big on the praise portion that you sing in, the part of the church service where you sing. Never been my thing, but I've felt that God gives me messages through that time over the last year. This day was no different. I stood like I always do during praise, and that's when it happened. Suddenly around me, everything was dark, and I was under a bright light. It was like I was standing in front of a judge that was so far up. It was dark, and I couldn't see him. It was being decided whether I would live or die at that time. The crowd was talking, and suddenly I heard a female voice from the back saying I should live. I have twin boys who need me, and I need to return to them. The judge asked the woman to come to the front because he couldn't see her. I could see her in brief clips, but it wasn't until she got to the front of the crowd that I recognized her. It was my mom, who I'd lost about 5 years prior. In short, if you look at my medical records from that time, there's no possible way I should be in as good a shape as I am. I'm on no medication or anything. There's no way you can see my story and not see God's involvement. I can go on and add more to this, but I'm getting tired of typing it myself. Let me know if you want more information. Thanks for all you guys do, and that comes from Bill. Well, Bill, thank you. I'm glad that you're still among the living and here to share your story with us. Very cool. Hey, Dave and Tim, I was listening to one of your past shows, and I heard you mention your mom. Why hasn't she contacted you? I'm 68 now, but I was a kid. I was close to my dad, who was a pretty hardcore alcoholic. He came home from World War II in Korea twice, really messed up. Dad and I used to love to have long talks on Saturday mornings sitting around the kitchen table. Some serious subjects, and some were, funny sides of the war, I guess, sort of like MASH. When I was 20 and pregnant with my youngest son, he stopped by to visit, patted me on the tummy as he said goodbye, and told me to take good care of myself and the baby. A month later, he was dead of the horrible malady that haunted him throughout his life as he lost his battle with the wars and the bottle. I never heard from him, although I kind of expected to, I guess. One night, I had what some people would call a visitation dream. Although it was not like any other dream I'd ever had. I was looking at the whole experience through my own eyes, not as if a camera was catching it all for me. I was with my dad in a kitchen, but not one I recognized. Didn't matter. We had a great long talk. The only thing I remember out of the whole conversation was he said he finally found peace. It's what I wanted to hear. What I needed to hear. I'm so sorry to go on, but hope this helps you somehow, Dave. It was almost 30 years after his death that I finally heard from him. One more thing. My youngest brother, who lives in California and I in Minnesota, is an alcoholic and drug addict too. The whole family was worried about him, but nothing we did seemed to help. I was at a garage sale one day about 2 weeks after Dad's visitation, looking at all the treasures in the homeowner's garage. An old plaque bounced off the wall and landed at my feet face up. It was the Serenity Prayer. I guess I was visited twice by my dad. I sent the plaque to my brother, who is off and on with his problems, hopefully now on his way to forever sober. There's another side, Dave, but since we aren't there, we don't understand it yet. But you and I will someday. Mom's okay, and you will be too. No need to mention my name, please. Well, thank you very much for that bit of enlightenment. I always like to hear from other people and get that insight. And I'm glad you got your message. 30 years, though, Tim. Holy Christmas.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is in regards to your Parashare episode 181, wherein a Brandon emailed in his description of experiences with sleep paralysis. Unfortunately, based upon his description, it is clear that the phenomena from which he is suffering is actually infestation of a jinn. For those who do not know yet, jinn are very powerful fourth density, that's what it says, entities who look upon humans as cattle and nothing more. They are constantly finding ways to drain humans of their higher vibrational energy. They accomplish this by first taking advantage of the human's natural feature of sleep paralysis, a very normal characteristic of the dream state. It isn't clear if they simply time their attacks to coincide with the human's natural paralysis or if they're actually able to induce this paralysis. It might be a bit of both. Once the human is paralyzed, the jinn instills as much fear and anxiety in the human as possible, then draws off this energy upon which they feed. When humans experience fear, rage, or anxiety, any strong negative emotion, they dispel a type of fine energy upon which a variety of entities feed, including the jinn. Draco reptilians also feed upon this energy and have named it in their language Loosh. Loosh, I say, Tim. Although they, both jinn and reptilians, seem not to require this to survive, it seems they do require it to be able to manifest and interact with our third density reality. Also, they derive a drug-like high from this energy. Once a jinn has latched onto you, it becomes extremely difficult to rid yourself of them. Extremely difficult, but not impossible. The very first action you should take is to acquire large pieces of iron. It can even be scrap iron, preferably long poles of iron, and lay them on the floor surrounding your bed like a protective framework. A piece of iron under your pillow, or even under your bed directly beneath where your heart and or your head is positioned during sleep would be advised. Laying down a line of salt along each windowsill along the top of each exterior door jamb might also be good in some cases. Just make sure to include all possible door and window openings into your home or bedroom. Finally, and most importantly, it is very strongly recommended that you seek assistance from someone qualified in expelling the jinn. Do not trust anyone in this matter. It is far too important to learn to leave to amateurs, charlatans, or jokers. My suggestion is to contact Simon Parks. He lives in England but is available through Skype. He also always very extremely busy, but he is one of the most successful of these workers. I've not yet heard of a case of jinn infestation that he was not able to remedy. Of interesting note, he does not charge for this. He does this out of profound kindness of his heart. If you speak to him via Skype, the kindness and compassion will become immediately apparent to you. In fact, I know that if Simon sees that a case presents sufficient and immediate danger to the human being, Simon will act as quickly as possible to render assistance and see that the jinn is removed. Of course, you might also ask Simon if he happens to know of someone as equally qualified as he who can accomplish the same thing as he, but who lives closer to you guys. You never know until you ask. And please just keep that in mind. Based upon your description, you're not suffering some psychological break or delusion. Anyone who tries to convince you of this nonsense is either pathetically ignorant or blatantly lying. And a hallucination cannot tear open your skin or affect you in the ways you have described. This is genuine, living being that you're describing, not a fantasy. You should send it packing as quickly as possible before something far more serious happens. Much love and light to you, Dave and Tim, your families and friends, and all that listen to Darkness Radio. And that comes from Philip. Well, thank you, Philip. That's an interesting bit of information, and we glad to share that along with our listeners. Maybe we'll even try to get Simon Parks on the show in the future. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Well, that's it for this week, kids. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. We'll be back again with you next week with more of the best in paranormal talk radio. And remember, tune in tomorrow for another edition of Beyond the Darkness and a brand new Theater of the Mind. That's right here on Beyond the Darkness.